entirely where you want to be. So listen, I am excited. I'm so grateful that all of you decide to tune in. And so listen, we are about to go in on the message. And so here's what I want you to do right now. Grab a pen, grab a notepad. I got a message for you right now, this moment, and go ahead and hit the share button right now if you believe that somebody else can be inspired and really touched by this message tonight. And so here's what I want to talk to you about. Here's what I want to talk to you about tonight. Here's what I know. Chances are you got something that you want to act on. I don't know what that thing is for you. Maybe perhaps you've been thinking about making a career change. Maybe for you, you've been thinking about starting a new business venture. Maybe for you, you've been thinking about going back to school. Maybe perhaps you are in a career field and you're thinking about pursuing your goals, pursuing your dreams, and making some things happen. But let me tell you a common mistake that we make. A lot of times when it's time for us to move forward on our goals and our dreams, when it's time for us to make something happen, we always feel as if we don't have enough information to act. We feel oftentimes like we don't have enough resources to act. Sometimes we feel as if it's just not the right timing. And so unfortunately, when we do that, let me tell you what happens. We end up putting our goals, we put our dreams, we put everything that we've been put on this place to do, we put all those things on hold. And so I've got a message for you tonight. And the purpose of this message is to help you to get unstuck, to help you to get off the sideline, to get you beyond that conversation where you keep trying to tell yourself that you don't have the resources, you don't have the information, you don't have everything that you need. Here's what I want to tell you, and I want you to write this down for those of you who are note takers, and for those of you who are watching live, you want to go ahead and type this in. Here's what I want you to know. This is the key phrase for tonight's message. You need to move on what you know. And you say, well, Andy, what do you mean by that? Because here's what I know. Regardless of what it is that you're looking to accomplish, regardless of what it is that you're looking to make happen in your life, here's what I know, that you know just enough to be deadly. You know just enough to be at least able to start. And so stop convincing yourself that you don't have enough information. Stop convincing yourself that you don't necessarily have enough resources. Stop convincing yourself that it's not the right timing. I'm telling you that all of that is a bunch of garbage. It's a bunch of hoopla. And what you need to do is simply move on what you know. And there's some things that you know. What you know is that this job that you've been working at, that you've been sick and tired of being sick and tired. What you know is this wonderful, amazing business opportunity you've been wanting to move forward on. This is your time to do it. What you know is that you need to literally start getting out of debt. What you know is this is your time to finally start losing the weight. What you know is that you need to raise the bar and take your life to the next level. And so listen what I need you to understand. What you know is enough for you to start moving forward. What you know is enough for you to start writing the book. What you know is enough for you to start the business. What you know is enough for you to start taking your life to the next level. And so one of the things that I need you to understand is this. Stop convincing yourself that you don't have the resources, that you don't have the information. And so I'm going to share something with you, and I'm going to break it down for you very slowly because I need you to understand this. I want you to write this down for those of you who are note takers. Listen carefully. If you move on what you know, things will ultimately become clear to you. But understand this. If you don't move on what you don't know will paralyze you. I'm going to break that down. I'm going to say it to you one more time, and I need you to go ahead and get this. I need you to write this down because this can literally change your life if you could allow this to register. I'm going to break it down for you real slow. Listen, if you move on what you know, if you move on the little bit that you know about writing the book, if you move on the little bit that you know about this business that you want to start, if you move on the little bit that you know about making this career change, if you move on just a little bit that you know about this dream, this goal that you're pursuing, if you move on what you know, guess what? Ultimately, the next step will reveal itself and things will become clear to you. However, but listen carefully to this. If you don't move on what you know, if you don't move on what you don't know will paralyze you. I'm going to say that one more time. If you don't move on what you don't know will paralyze you. And unfortunately, that's what happens to a lot of people. You know, what happens is that they got a dream, they got a goal, they got something that they want to move forward on. And then they start thinking about what they don't know. They start thinking about perhaps the resources that they don't yet have. They start thinking about, I don't know the entire process to writing a book and then publishing it, so I'm just not going to start. Or they say, well, I don't know all the steps to getting my business off the ground, so I'm just not going to start. I don't know all the steps to making this career change, so I'm just not going to start. And so what happens is if you don't move on what you know, then what you don't know will paralyze you. And that's what I want to shift for you today. That's what I want to change for you. What I want you to realize is this, that you have something, you have just enough information to act on your goal, on your dream. Stop staying on the sidelines. Stop convincing yourself that now is not the time. Stop convincing yourself that you don't have the resources. Stop convincing yourself that you've got to wait for some kind of perfect timing. What I'm telling you is this, that you simply need to move on what you know. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because, listen, I've had to experience this firsthand. I can remember right now when I was still working in corporate America. I was working for a great company by the name of PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I had this desire, I had this dream of becoming an entrepreneur. I had this dream of figuring out what my passion and what my purpose was. And so maybe you can relate to that. You got something that you've been wanting to act on, something that you've been wanting to do. And then every time I thought about acting on the dream, every time I thought about leaving my corporate job and pursuing my goals and my dreams, every single time I thought about making a thing happen, guess what happened? I would talk myself out of it. And the main reason why I was talking myself out of it was because there were some things that weren't clear to me. There were some things that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know what my next career move was going to be. I didn't know how things were going to work out for me. I didn't know how I was going to replace my income. I didn't know if I was guaranteed to have success. I didn't know whether or not I was going to fail. And because of the fact I was fixated on all the things that I didn't know, I became paralyzed and I didn't move forward. And literally, that process happened to me for about 1.5 years. And the reason why I'm sharing that with you is because I know that there's some of you who are listening in right now, and that's where you're at right now. You got something that you've been wanting to act on, something that you've been wanting to take steps forward towards. And every single time you think about acting, every single time you think about moving forward, you start thinking about all the things that you don't know, the resources that you don't have. And then guess what happens? You become paralyzed and you don't move forward. And so that's why I wanted you to write it down. Listen carefully. I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to beat this thing down until you get it. I'm going to beat this thing down until you get it. And I got some more to share with you. So for those of you, if you see where I'm going with this, I want you to hit the share button because I know that there's somebody that needs to hear this message. Listen carefully. If you move on what you know, things will become clear to you. Are you listening to me on this? If you move on what you know, things will become clear to you. The next step will reveal itself. Martin Luther King said that faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the entire staircase. There are going to be times in your life that you're not going to know what all the steps are. You're only going to be able to take just one step. But guess what happens? After you take that first step, the next step will be revealed to you. And then after you take the next step, the following step will be revealed to you. And so one of the things that you just have to get very, very good at is just moving on the single thing that you know, even if it's just a little tiny bit. If all you know just seems so small compared to all that you don't know, all you need to know is just enough to at least get started. Most people won't get started on their goals and their dreams. Most people won't begin to push the process forward. Unfortunately, most people will sit on the sidelines and start talking about all the things that they want to make happen and then keep staying fixated on the things that they do not know. And because of that, guess what happens? They never, ever move forward. And so the book never gets written. The business never starts. The career change never happens. They never find that special someone, the husband, the wife. They never get out of debt. They never get that ideal body shape that they want. And so what happens is they become fixated on all the things that they do not know. And so what happens is when you focus on the things that you do not know, understand this, it will paralyze you. It will keep you from moving forward. And so the thing that successful people have mastered is that they understand is that you're not always going to have all the pieces to the puzzle. And so for those of you right now, go ahead and type that in right now. Listen carefully. Stop waiting to have all the pieces of the puzzle. You're not going to have all the pieces of the puzzle. Sometimes you're going to have to start writing the book even when you're not quite sure what the entire process is going to be and how you're going to publish the book. Sometimes you got to go ahead and start the business when you're not even quite sure what all the steps are to get from starting the business to actually becoming profitable. But the main thing is you just need to start. Listen, sometimes you're not going to know how things are going to work out before you decide to step out there and start dating and meeting people again. Guess what? It's going to be no guarantee. You're not going to know if the person's going to say yes, if they're going to say no, but you have to move forward. In other words, you need to simply move on what you know. That's what I need you to get tonight. That's what I need to get you. That's what I need to register in your mind, that you need to simply move on what you know, even if what you know seems so very small compared to all that you do not know in the process. And trust me on this, I know that in an ideal situation, you would like to know everything. I know that you would like to know what the next step is. I know that you would like to know what all the steps are. I know you would like to know exactly who's going to help you out, where all the resources are going to come from. Listen, I've tried to figure it all out many a times, right? I tried to make sure that I had all the pieces to the puzzle before I moved forward. And guess what happened? I didn't move. I became stuck. I became stagnant. And so what I need you to understand is if you want to get to the place where you're moving towards your dreams and that you're not just sitting on the sideline, you need to learn how to take action with just a little bit of information that you know. And so I want you to think back. I'm working in corporate America. It's 2004. And so I've been sitting on the sideline for a year and a half. And the reason why I'm sitting on the sideline is because I'm fixated and I'm focused on all the things you don't know, all the things I don't know. I'm saying to myself, well, Andy, what's going to be your next move? Andy, what are you going to do? Andy, how are you going to become an entrepreneur? Andy, how are you going to figure out what your passion, what your purpose is? How are you going to replace your income? I was fixated on all the things that I didn't know. And because I was fixated on the things that I didn't know, listen carefully, I became paralyzed. But something happened in December of 2004 for me. Something amazing happened. And that's what I want to happen for you today. I made a shift and I stopped focusing on what I didn't know. And I decided to simply focus on what I did know. And so that's where the shift took place, is where I began to say, wait a second here, Andy. I understand there's a lot of things that you do not know, but I need you to focus on what is it that you do know. And the thing that I did know was that even though I was working for this amazing company, I knew in my heart that something inside of me was saying, Andy, there's got to be more than this. And let me tell you something else. Something else that I did know is I knew that if I didn't move forward on my goals and my dreams, that I was going to be like a lot of other people that just kept having great conversation, but yet and still we're doing absolutely nothing. Because there are some of my coworkers that every year they were telling me about their other dreams, their other ambitions, and every year they didn't act. And I knew that if I didn't act, that I was going to end up being just like them, just having a whole bunch of great conversation. Look, Mark Twain said 20 years from now, you're going to be more disappointed about the things that you didn't do rather than the things that you do. And so I knew, I said, wait a second, Andy, wait a second. You got to take some action here. You got to move forward. You got to make something happen. You got to stop sitting on the sideline and you need to just focus on what you know. And so what I knew was that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. What I knew is that something was saying, Andy, there's got to be more than this. What I knew is that the dream was big enough for me to figure it out. And so finally, in December of 2002, I built up some courage and I walked into that office for a lady that was head of HR, a lady by the name of Tammy Klein. And I told her, hey, Tammy, I'm going to be leaving this company. And she said, well, what are you going to do? And I told her something, but I tell you honest, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. But I moved on the little bit that I did know. And I knew enough to get the process started. And that's why I'm sharing this message with you. I need you to get off the sidelines. I need you to understand that you have enough to get started. You know enough to start writing the book. You know enough to start the business. You know enough to make the career shift. You know enough to start the process of losing the weight. You know enough to start the process of getting out of debt. You know enough to start the process of pursuing your goals and your dreams. Listen to me carefully on this. Move on what you know. If you move on what you know, things will become clear to you. Steps will begin revealed. People will come into your life. Doors will begin to open. Things will begin elevated if you simply move on what you know. But if you don't move on what you know, if you just become fixated on all the things that you don't know, guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen to you? Unfortunately, you're going to become paralyzed and you're just not going to move forward. And it's going to be one of those situations where you say to yourself, man, I keep having the same conversation, but nothing's happening in my life. And so understand this. I think about, one of the stories that I share quite a bit is a story about my mom. And there's something that my mom did that was so amazing. My mom, she came to the United States with very limited resources. And she was operating a restaurant. She was operating a business. And there became a time when she was operating this restaurant that unfortunately the restaurant was being put into foreclosure, not because she wasn't paying the rent, but because of the fact that the landlord who actually owned the building, that landlord wasn't paying their mortgage. And so what happened is my mom found out, right, through a notice that the property was actually going to go to a foreclosure. Now, here's what I need you to understand. My mom knew very little about what the foreclosure process even looked like. She knew very little about what the auction process was going to look like. But what happened is she could have focused on all the things that she didn't know. For one, she didn't know what the foreclosure process was like. She didn't know why the property was really going into foreclosure. She didn't even know, what the probability was for her to actually be able to stay in the property if she met who the new person was. But my mom made a conscious decision. She said, you know what? Even though there's a lot of things I don't know, I'm just going to go to the foreclosure sale anyway. And I'm just going to move on the little bit that I do know. And what I do know is that this foreclosure sale is taking place on this day. And I'm going to see if I can show up and if I could convince whoever is going to buy this property, if there's any way that I could stay there. And for some of you who've heard the story, one of the most amazing things happened because my mom was willing to just simply move on the little bit that she knew. She showed up to the foreclosure sale, and literally by the grace of God, something amazing happened. And my mom just had a step of courage. And even though she showed up just to observe and see whoever's going to win the property was going to allow her to stay, my mom took a step of faith and she actually bid on the property. And guess what? She won the bid and she was able to raise the money to purchase the property. And literally that one moment completely changed everything for my mom. And so what I need you to understand is this. There's a lot of things that she did not understand and that she did not know in that process, but she didn't focus on what she didn't know. No. She focused simply on what she knew. She had a date and she had a location for where the foreclosure sale was going to take place. And so what I need you to understand is this, that you have just enough information to be deadly. You got just enough information to start the process of writing your book. You got just enough information to start the process of starting your business. You got just enough information to be able to start the career shift. You have just enough information to be able to lean in and start pushing in towards your passion and your goal and your dream. And all you have to do is be able to do this very, very simple thing. It's simple, but I'm not necessarily saying it's easy. You got to simply learn how to do this. You got to move on what you know, because when you move on what you know, things will become clear to you. Doors will begin to open. People will begin to show up. But listen carefully. If you don't move on what you know, listen, what you don't know will paralyze you. I cannot drill this into your mind enough. I can't get you to start thinking about this. I learned a lot of things from my wife because we're different in many ways. And it was funny because we were going shopping for some living room furniture. And so my wife is the kind of person, when she needs to make a decision, she just needs a little bit of information and she's ready to make a very fast decision. Me, on the other hand, a lot of times I want to get all the information. I want to do a whole lot of research. And so all we're looking now, this is a simple little silly, stupid story, but I need you to get the lesson here. We decided to go out and go shopping for a new living room set, right? And so we start going out and we go to all the different furniture stores. And so the very first furniture store we walk into, my wife sees the set and she sees it. She's like, listen, this is it. This is good. We can buy this. It's it. No more shopping. We're all done. But of course, I always need more information, right? And so I'm like, well, wait a second. Let me do a little more research on this particular set that we're taking a look at. But wait a second. let's not stop here. Let's go to a couple other stores and go check out to see what else they have, right? And I'm like, and so now we literally, had we just followed my wife's lead, we would have been in and out of the store in basically 15 minutes, and the process would have been 15 minutes. Because of the fact that I wanted more information, I wanted to gather more details. We ended up literally spending hours going from literally one furniture store to another furniture store to another furniture store to another furniture store to another furniture store. And I still felt like I needed more information. I needed to see more sets. I needed to know what the quality was. I needed to know what the warranties were. But here's what I need you to understand. There is power in the person who has the ability to just get enough information to move forward. You see, when I told my wife, well, you want to get this set? Well, we didn't even take a look at enough other sets. Well, we didn't even do enough research. She says, listen, I'm going to move on what I know. And what I know is that this set looks better than what we have at the house. And that's enough information for me to go ahead and make this decision. And so literally, she was able to move forward and make a decision. Whereas me, on the other hand, I'm hours delayed. And literally, if it was up to me, I'd probably still be doing research and still be looking for a furniture set. Thank God she understands that sometimes you got to just move on what you know. And so what I need you to understand is this, that a lot of us, here's what we do. We postpone our goals. We postpone our dreams. So many things that we want to make happen because of what? Why? Because of the fact that we just simply are fixated on all the things that we don't know, right? And then what happens is when we become fixated on what we don't know, there's something that's called the spotlight effect. And then all of a sudden, it gets that much more bigger. And now you convince yourself, I don't have enough information to start the business. I don't have enough information to make a decision. I don't have enough information to start the coaching. I don't have enough information to start writing my book, to start the business. And so what happens is you become stagnant. And what happens is, guess what? Years go by, months go by, and guess what? You're not moving forward on your goals and your dreams. And so what I want you right now is I want you to go ahead and set yourself free. I want you to stop focusing on all the things that you don't know. And I want you to just try to figure out what's the one thing that you do know. What's the one thing that you do know that you can move forward on that's going to propel you and launch you forward. And if you're just simply willing to move on what you know, right? If you know that you got a great story, you know that if you write this book, your book is going to impact and change lives. That's enough information for you to start writing the book. If you know that you can bring a product or a service to the marketplace that is going to be able to impact and change somebody else's life, that's enough information. That's all you need to know to go ahead and at least start the process of starting your business. If you absolutely know that the job that you're in right now, the career that you're in right now, if you know that it's not in alignment with your purpose, you know that you're not fulfilled, you know that you're unhappy, you know that every single day you get in the car, you cringe on having to actually drive there, that's enough information for you to start the process to make a shift in your career, to go in a different direction. Listen carefully, listen to this. If you know that you're sick and tired of being lonely, if you know that you don't want to keep just repeating the old habits of the past, of all these toxic relationships, that's enough information that you need to start working on yourself and start preparing yourself to get into a happy, fulfilling relationship. Understand this. All I'm saying to you is this. You only need this much information. You only need a tiny bit of information. You only need just enough to at least get the process started. Most people will never get started. Why? Because they're fixated on all the things that they don't know. And so if you were to ask them, why haven't you started the business? Why haven't you made the career change? Why haven't you signed up for the coaching? Why haven't you pursued your goals and your dreams? Why haven't you done this thing that you've been talking about for the past month, for the past year? And they'll tell you, well, you know what? I'm still waiting on this. Or, I don't know how to do this. And so what happens is they literally make it so much bigger than what it is. They convince themselves that they don't have all the details, all the information. Listen, one of my mentors, a gentleman by the name of Les Brown, one of the top 5 speakers in the world, here's what he said. And I want you to go ahead and listen very carefully. He said, it's not what you don't have, but it's what you think you need that keeps you from having the level of success that you want in your life. I'm going to say that one more time. Les Brown, a man of great wisdom, here's what he said. He said, it's not what you don't have. It's not what you don't have, because what you have is enough. He said, it's not what you don't have, but it's what you think you need that's keeping you from having the success that you want to have in your life. Understand this, that there is somebody that had just the same amount of resources as you, that has just the same amount of information as you, that has just the same amount of talent as you. Instead of sitting on the sideline, they decided to act. They decided to move forward on their goals and their dreams, and that was enough for them to move forward. Listen, if you're getting some value from this message right now, listen, go ahead and hit the share button, because I know that there's a friend, there's a family member, there's somebody that you know that needs to hear this message. Even if they just catch a little bit of the tail of this message, they need it, because they need to understand the importance of moving on what you know. I'm going to say one more time, and then I got another powerful point for you. Listen carefully. If you move on what you know, things will become clear to you. Martin Luther King said that faith is taking the first step without seeing the entire staircase. You take one step, the next step will reveal itself. You take the second step, the third step will reveal itself. You take the third step, the fourth step will reveal itself. Stop thinking that you're going to see all the steps in advance. Stop believing that you're going to have all the pieces of the puzzle. Life doesn't work that way. Trust me, I've tried to get all the pieces of the puzzle before moving forward on some of the things I want to make happen. It doesn't work that way. The only thing that you're going to do is you're going to delay your destiny. You're going to delay your goals. You're going to delay your vision. You're going to delay making some great things happen. And so ultimately, you got to be willing to simply move on what you know. Now, here's something that you need to understand. I got to tell you this, because if I don't tell you this, I'm just going to really, listen, if I don't tell you this, this will take you out. Even when you make the decision to move on what you know. And you say, wait a second, Andy, I heard your message, man. You said I got to move on what I know. I've been sitting on the sidelines, man. I've been thinking about writing this book. I've been thinking about starting a business. I've been thinking about making this career change. I've been thinking about getting back out there and entering a happy, fulfilling relationship. I've been thinking about doing something to change my finances, my financial situation around. I've been thinking about doing something that's going to put me in position to get to my goals and my dreams. I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about it, Andy. But now that I hear you say this, you're right. I've been fixated on all the things that I didn't know. And so now you're making me understand, wait a second, all I got to do is move on what I know. I don't need to have it all figured out. I don't need to have all the pieces of the puzzle. I don't need to know all the steps. All I need to know is just enough information to at least take the first step. Yes, that's what I'm telling you. But here's what I need you to know. Even when you decide to act on your goals and your dreams, even when you decide to move forward, even when you finally build up the courage to move on the thing that you know, understand this. I want to share this with you so this doesn't take you out. You got to expect to be tested. Go ahead. For those of you who are right now, go ahead and type that down right now. Put expect to be tested. And the reason why I share that with you is understand this. Understand this. Listen, when you make the decision to act, when you make that decision to write the book, when you make that decision to start the business, when you make the decision to make the career change, when you make the decision to get out of debt, when you make the decision to enter a happy, fulfilling relationship, when you make the decision to change your life, here's one thing that is guaranteed. You can expect to be tested. Something is going to show up. Something is going to happen that is going to test your commitment to see if you really want it. One of my mentors long time ago, a gentleman by the name of Byron Nelson, here's what he said. Here's what he shared with me. He said, Andy, commitment is doing what you said you were going to do long after the feeling has left you when you said you were going to do it. I'm going to say that one more time. He said, commitment is doing what you said you were going to do long after the feeling has left you when you said you were going to do it. And I tell you, there was wisdom in those words. And the reason why is because when you say that you're going to do something, like write the book, when you say that you're going to do something like start the business, when you say that you're going to do something like make the career change, when you say that you're going to do something like get back out there and find a husband or a wife, when you say that you're going to do something like pursue your goals and your dreams, one thing that you can anticipate is even though you may feel great when you say that you're going to do it, life is going to present a test. And so you've got to expect to be tested. I'm telling you, I could go down list by list and tell you all the times that I got excited about doing something. Last year, I released my book. The title of my book is called Show Up for Your Life, 7 Principles to Living an Extraordinary Life. And I tell you, I started that process of writing the book. And I tell you, the moment I finally decided to go ahead and start writing the book, I was presented with test after test after test. Listen, I had to go through several editors in the process of writing the book. Literally, it was at the final stage where I was about to cross the finish line of finally getting this book released. And literally, the company that was responsible for formatting the book and making the things happen, they completely dropped the ball. And the person that was working on my assignment completely dropped the ball. And now here I am. I had a book launch prepared, and there was over 200 people confirmed in attendance for my book launch. And I was in a situation where I wasn't even sure if my books were going to make it there in time. Are you listening to me on this? Imagine this. You got a book launch taking place. You got over 200 people there, and you don't even know if your books are going to be there at a book launch. Are you listening to me on this? Listen, some things are going to happen. Thank God that worked out. But what I'm sharing that with you is to make you understand that there's going to be some tests, no matter what it is that you have. And listen, you want to start the business? That's great. Expect to be tested. You want to get back out there and you want to find yourself a husband or a wife? That's awesome. Expect to be tested. Hey, listen, you want to go ahead and make a career change? That's fantastic. Expect to be tested. Hey, listen, you want to do something that's in alignment with your purpose, with your dreams, and with your calling? That's awesome. But listen to this, expect to be tested. Something is going to happen that is going to make you question whether or not you can make this thing happen. Listen, if you're feeling me on this, hit the share button right now, because I know that there's somebody that needs to hear this. Now, here's what I need you to understand. Here's what I want you to understand. This is where I'm going to land the plane. I'm going to land the plane for you right now. I'm going to help this all to come forward. The first thing I shared with you is you got to move on what you know, because too many times when we want to move forward on our goals and our dreams, we want to move forward on making some things happen, that we get caught up in the fact that we don't know what all the steps are and we don't have all the information. And so I just wanted to save you some time. Guess what? There's going to be a lot of times that you don't have all the information. There's going to be a lot of times that you don't have it all figured out. Embrace that. And why? So I told you, if you move on what you know, things will become clear to you. But if you don't move on what you know, what you don't know will paralyze you. Now, once you build the courage to move, you heard this message. You say, okay, Andy, I heard the message. I'm ready to move. The other thing I told you is you got to expect to be tested, because there's going to be some tests that are going to come up, and it's going to challenge you, and it's going to question, how bad do you really want it? Life is going to present you with this question many, many times. How bad do you really, really want it? But understand this. After you experience the test, keep going. Somebody type that down right now. After the test, keep going. Listen, Winston Churchill said this: when you're going through hell, keep going. Dr. Willie Jolly said this, that a setback is a setup for a comeback. John C. Maxwell said this, that every breakdown prepares you for your breakthrough. Understand this, that when you get this test, after the test, keep going. Don't throw in the towel. Don't say to yourself, oh man, you know what? I don't know why I even thought I could make this thing happen. Listen, the test many times is preparing you for your next level. The test is preparing you for where you're going. The test is preparing you to get to the place that you're looking to happen. You simply need to go through the test so that you can get to this place that you're looking to get to. Understand this. So after the test, keep going. After the test, keep going. After the test, keep going. Because you say, well, Andy, what do you mean keep going? How do I know I can do this? Listen to me carefully on this. I want you to write this down. You were built for the test. Write this down. You were built for the test. Listen, God has already given you everything that you need to be able to pass the test, to be able to get to the next level. And all you have to be willing to do is just keep pushing forward. The only people who really truly fail in life are those that decide to throw in the towel and they stop pushing forward. Listen, if you've gotten some value from this message, I want you right now to go ahead and hit the share button, because I know that there's somebody that needs to hear this message. And so here's what I want to leave you with. Here's what I want you to understand. that I personally know right now that there is something that you need to act on. There is something that you've been thinking about. You've been sort of having some conversations around it, but you haven't moved forward. And you keep convincing yourself that you don't have all the information, or you don't have all the resources, or you don't have everything that you need to make this thing happen. And what I want to tell you is, don't get caught up. Don't allow yourself to become paralyzed and become fixated on all the things that you do not know. Understand this. All you have to do is simply be willing to move on what you know. Even if what you know is just a little teeny bit. But all you need is just a little bit. All you need is a little bit of information to start the process. And if you move on what you know, things will become clear to you. But if you don't move on what you don't know will paralyze you. And once you build the courage to finally move on what you know, because I know you're going to move, I know you're going to start making some things happen, I know you're going to get to that next level, expect to be tested. Some things are going to happen, some things are going to show up, but understand this, when that test comes, you got to keep going. You want to know why? Because you were built for the test. That's the thing that they don't tell you. You were built for the test. You can make this thing happen. This book is going to happen for you. This business is going to happen for you. This career change is going to happen for you. And I can't wait. Let me tell you, I can't wait to hear about your success story. Hey, listen, if you've gotten some value from tonight's message, I want you right now to go ahead and hit the share button. We're about to wrap up. But let me just tell you something. This has been Andy Henriquez, strategic storytelling expert, speaker, trainer, and coach. And I just want to thank you for joining me for the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream and conference.